Welcome to lesson 12 of Google Sheets for Beginners. I am Eric, your instructor for this series, also sometimes known as Hollywood Frodo, because that is my channel name. So lesson 12, before we get started, just a reminder, in the bottom right of the video, there's that little settings cog wheel. If you click that, it will allow you to make sure you're watching this video in the highest definition possible, because that's what you should be doing so that you can see things clearly. Also, you can change the speed of the video. If you can handle things at a little bit of a faster pace than I'm going, you can speed me up. So don't forget that those options are there. Also that you can jump around in the video, of course, or pause and go back, whatever you need to do in order to learn this stuff. So today we're talking about something that's kind of fairly simple, but it's one of those things that sometimes people just don't know you can do. And that's importing data or list or charts or tables, I should say, from other sources. So last lesson we talked about, I think it was the last lesson, we talked about importing Excel sheets or CSV files into your Google Sheets and downloading as those. And this one we're going to talk about what if you have data from some other source. Like someone emails you a list of things and you don't want to retype all that stuff into your Google Sheet if you don't have to. So let's see what you can do with that. I'm going to disappear and we're going to jump over to this sheet now. So let's say I got an email. I'm going to go to my email, and this email is from someone that says, please add this to the sheet. And here's a list of stuff to add: apples, oranges, bananas, tangerines, peaches, and cotton candy grapes. If you've never had a cotton candy grape, they are pretty darn amazing. They are available at Trader Joe's. I'd never heard of them, and someone mentioned them. They had one. I tried it, and it's crazy. They actually taste like cotton candy. So if you highlight your list in that email, I'm going to highlight this list. I'm going to click Copy, right-click and Copy, or Control-C to copy. And then I'm going to go over to a blank sheet and click up in the top there, and I'm going to click Control-V, because that's paste. And you see, Control-V pasted that list right into my spreadsheet. So now I don't have to retype that. Of course, you're talking about 6 items. It wouldn't be such a big deal, but what if someone sent you a list of 50 items or 50 names to put into something? That would be a big deal. But you don't have to retype it. You can just copy and paste it. So what if someone sends you a chart? It does also work with charts. Let's get rid of this. And let's say someone sent me an email with a chart in it. So I have 2 versions here. So I'm going to highlight all the information in this chart. So I'm just clicking and dragging to highlight everything. And then I'm going to Control-C, or you can right-click on this, but Control-C for copy. Now I'm going to go into my Google Sheet, go to where I want this, and I'm going to Control-V for paste. And you can see it pasted that chart right in there for you. I'm going to make that a little bit wider so you can see it, but all that information is there. Now you can see it didn't necessarily keep all the formatting of that. If we go back up to here, you'll see all of these are left aligned, basically. These are all left aligned. And if you go over to your sheet, you'll see that it left aligned everything except for this. And the reason for that is because Google Sheets is translating these to be numbers automatically. And by default, text is always left aligned, numbers are always right aligned. So since it detected that these were numbers, it right aligned them automatically. Now what about that other chart that's in that email? Because this chart has a lot more formatting. You can see these 2 are centered, these 2 are left aligned, and then you have this green shading and the bolding. So we're going to copy all that, click and drag to copy it all. I'm going to hit Control-C for copy. We're going to go back to that sheet. I'm going to just click in the middle here. and I'm going to Control V for paste. So you see, some of that formatting it did keep, some of it didn't. So the shading it wasn't able to detect or keep necessarily, but it got the rest of it. You can see that the headings are bold, the name and desired destination are left aligned, and the age and the marital status are centered, just as they were on the chart. So Google Sheets is pretty smart with this stuff, and that sure beats trying to have to retype this whole chart yourself, especially again. I keep calling it a chart, really it's a table. But it beats having to retype this, and this is a tiny little table. But what if someone emailed you a table that had 25 names here and all this information for 25 people? You don't want to have to retype all that stuff. And what if there were 10 columns instead of 4 columns? And you don't have to. You can just copy and paste that stuff right into Google Sheets, and the sheet will translate it. And it does a pretty darn good job, as you can see. So, yeah, so it works with tables, it works with lists. Really cool. Now, I just used email, but this would also work if this were inside a document. So right here, you can see I have a document. This is a Google Doc. Just like there's Google Sheets, which are Google Spreadsheets, there's Google Docs, pretty much the Google version of Word, if you're familiar with Word. So let's say someone emailed you an attachment that was a Microsoft Word document that had a chart in it. Or someone sent you a Google Sheet, a link to a Google Sheet that had, I keep saying chart, sorry about that. What I mean to say is table. Or someone sent you a Google Sheet link and you opened it up and it had a table. And this is the table was in this document, but you needed to be able to manipulate the information. You needed to be able to filter, like we talked about, to just single or married, or filter to certain age groups, or filter based on designation, or sort based on the name. You can't do all that in a document because this is just a table. But again, if you take this information from the document, you highlight it all, Control C for copy. Now I'm going to go into Sheets. I'm going to create a new sheet, and I'm going to Control V for paste. And you see now, in this case, I copied some extra space that was up there at the top above the chart. So I'm just going to delete that row. And we'll talk about that more in formatting later on. But now that I've done that and I've got the headings in the right place, I can click this filter button to add filters. And now I can filter this. I can say I only want to see people who are married. So I can unclick single, click OK. Now I just have married. You know, you could, again, all the stuff that we learned about filtering, once you've pasted this table into a sheet, it becomes data in a sheet, and you can do all the stuff we did with filters or anything else you want to do with it. So a lot of times people send you a chart. They don't know that you need to do all this stuff, but you want to. You want to sort it, dig information out of it, manipulate it, paste it into a Google Sheet, and you can do that. So that's how that works. Now I want to show you one other thing real quick, and then that we're going to be done with this lesson. And that's that as you saw, it works if information's in an email or information is in a document that someone sends you. Well, what about you find information online? Well, it works for that too. So let's go over here. This is some website I found that has a list of states. So I'm just going to copy this first list, because if I copied all this, it's going to probably see it as a table because you've got 4 columns of names. And I just want a list. So I'm going to copy just the first list. I'm going to hit Control C. I'm going to go over to the spreadsheet, and I'm going to hit Control V to paste. And you see it pasted those. And then I could go back here, and I could do just the second column. Control C. Go back to this list, start here, Control V, and it pasted it. Now you'll see that this is underlined, and see if I hover over it, it's a web link. And here's the web page that it links to. And that's because these are all links. You can see, you can click on these to go to another page. So Sheets and Google recognizes that as a link and paste it here as a link. It keeps the link. Now I can hover over that and I can copy the link, I can edit the link, or I can remove the link. If I remove it, now it's no longer a link. Now it's no longer clickable. It's just the data. But there is a better way to do that. So I'm going to remove these. I'm going to go back over here. Just for fun, we're going to go to the next list and we're going to highlight that. Control C to copy. Go back to Sheets, the blank sheet. There we go. Now I'm going to Control V. And when I do that, you see this little clipboard shows up right here. And with this down arrow, and you'll recognize that. We see that little down arrow all the time, and that means there's a menu there. So if I click that, you see there's an option to paste values only. So if I click paste values only, now look. Now it removed the links. Now it just took the text. Basically, when you say paste values only, generally speaking, that means just the text that is in whatever you're copying. And now I just have the raw text is now pasted in this list. And that's generally, I don't want all those links. I just wanted the data. So by doing that, I'm just getting the data. So let's look at something similar to that, but with the table online. So here's a Wikipedia page, and this is a table about planets, different bodies in the solar system or something. I don't even know. I just was looking for any type of table to use. And this is a tricky one because you can see this first two lines has 2 lines in column 1, 2 lines in column 2, but a single combined line in column 3. So that's kind of tricky. But you'll see that Google is really smart with this stuff. So I'm going to hit Control C. I'm going to go over to the same Google Sheets. And let's do this just in the middle here. And I'm going to hit Control V. And you can see that it pasted all that information. Now it doesn't know exactly how much space we need for these things. So you can kind of toy with that. And I'm going to show you tricks about this. Is all covered in formatting, which is in a future lesson. But just looking at this, you can see that it got that. See right here? These two, instead of being 2 lines, this is just one combined box, just like it was on the website. And then these are 2 and these are 2. Now, just like the other, it did keep those links, and I could go through here and just, remove the links to remove them. But let's try it with the other way. So let's get rid of this, all of this. There we go. So now we have a clean slate. We're going to go back here. It's already highlighted, so you can Control C, or in this case, you can also right click and click copy. And then I'm going to go back to this database, and I'm going to hit Control V. And see, there's that little format thing. I'm going to go down here and say values only. So I said values only, and now you can see by saying values only, there's a plus and a minus. When I did it the first time, it kept the shading that was back here. If you didn't notice that the first time, go back and you'll see it kept the shading and it kept the bolding of the headings, which was actually nice. But in this case, because you're saying text, you're basically saying just the values, just the text that was in there, it removes any type of formatting. So it removes the shading, it removes the bolding, it removes all the links, and now you just have the raw data. But you can see if you find a chart online that has information you want to put that into a sheet to manipulate it or use it somehow, then easy to do. You can just copy and then paste it into your sheet. And you can either use it as it is if you want to keep the formatting, or you can click that little down arrow by the clipboard in the lower right and say values only, and it'll just paste the values, just paste the text that is in there. So that's pretty much it. That's this lesson. Hopefully that was I think that's an easier lesson. It's one of those things, just kind of a tip, just kind of a trick to show you that you can do that. And it'll work with almost anything. I mean, it's not foolproof. Some things might be really weirdly formatted online or somewhere, and you try to paste it and it doesn't work right. It pastes a little weird. But generally speaking, as you saw, Google is very smart with that. And especially because there's protocols for the way web pages display lists and display tables, and Google is aware of those protocols and uses them to interpret it into a sheet. So it works really, really well. Someone emails you a long list or a huge table, and you need to get that into Google Sheets to manipulate it, play with it, or just to add it to a sheet you're working on. You can do that now without having to retype it, because, you know, in life, it's all about finding smarter ways to do things, right? Smarter, easier ways to do things that make your work easier, so you can get more done. So anyway, that's it for this lesson. If you have any questions about what we covered today, feel free to post them down in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer those or get back to you, or maybe someone else will see it and answer as well. Don't forget to favorite this playlist to keep up with future lessons in this series. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel to keep up with all my videos. I do product reviews and fun little random videos and things. So if you want to keep up with those, subscribe to my channel and click that like button to show your appreciation and give me a little bit of love. Anyway, that is it until next time. So have a great day.